Good evening, everybody. Let's bring that down. There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Carrow Road. Norwich City against Middlesbrough here this afternoon in the Championship in what I think we're all hoping and expecting, certainly if it turns out, as Johannes Hoftorp build, to be quite the pulsating, entertaining encounter between two very, very good Championship teams. Certainly, their starts to the season suggests that. Of course, Norwich City, if they avoid defeat this afternoon, will be 12 months unbeaten at this place, which is quite a remarkable record. That's 23 games, I think I've worked out as pre-game. And the record for a consecutive run like that in all comps, they did 31 in the league in the 80s. But in terms of all comps, you have to go back to 58, 59 for the last time Norwich City achieved a run like this. It's pretty stellar. It's pretty remarkable. And we're going to see if they can do it today against Middlesbrough. We will bring you the team news shortly. And I guess, Paddy, probably most of the debate with the knowledge I might... Oh, no, in fact, I'll hold that thought because I think we're about to learn the team. We will learn the team. And Norwich City line up like this. Long in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Calderbert and Doyle as the back four. McLean, Slimani and Marcondes as the... Sienats, Sainz, Sargent. So unchanged from the other night. The subs bench, Mayer, Stacey, Hanley, Crisene, Sorensen, Forsyth, Forsant, Schwartau and Gordon. So Norwich City unchanged. And that probably answers the question, Paddy. I was going to ask you how you saw that midfield mix shaping up. And it's answered there. Marcondes stays in the team.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it might go that way for the simple reason, as you said on Thursday, it was an extra day in terms of Saturday to Sunday, but I think compared to the Stoke and the Preston games, twice as much time to prepare. So you would have thought it, after that initial 12 minutes at Preston, he was happy with a lot of what he saw in that performance. And yeah, I guess there was a debate maybe in the middle three whether you take Marcondes out just because of the lack of football he's had relatively this calendar year. But then who are you bringing in? Is it Schwartau? Is it Forsen? Maybe Sorensen, probably not at this stage as a starter. So, yeah, for me, you tip to Marcondes, I think, and just see if he can, in the absence of Nunes and what would appear to be probably this side of the international break now, we're not going to see Nunes. So if you're looking for a bit of chemistry, then Marcondes, McLean, Slimani, let's see again at home if they can, come together as a trio and offer what Norwich had with Nunes in the team. So other than that, defensively, I think that's set now. We know the situation with no Gunny, so it's going to be George Long. We'll get into that, no doubt, on this chat. But and then the front three for me, I mean, the only debate, if it is a debate, does Cade Gordon get to a starter? I mean, I asked Johannes about that on Thursday. Suggested he was pushing, but then he went and played for the 21s, didn't he, on Friday night? So clearly, at the moment, it's Cernac's shirt. But I do feel Gordon is offering something when he comes on.
Yeah, agreed. And in terms of that Nunez hole, so to speak, of the options available, so you mentioned a few of them there, but Schwartau, Forsen, Marcondes, probably feels like Marcondes is maybe the closest, not that he's an identical like-for-like player, but maybe feels like he's the closest to that mould that Nunez has set in recent weeks in terms of technical and quite capable in tight situations with the ball.
Well, what he said, I mean, pre-Preston was... Look, we don't have a like-for-like for Nunes, really, which is a testament to him more than anything. But in this squad, there isn't somebody who can you pull out, put him in, and it's seamless. So, in Johannes' words, or to paraphrase what he said, it was whoever goes in there, they almost have to mould slightly to the requirements of that player. I thought it was interesting. He said after the game on Tuesday night, teams who want to go man for man, which Preston did all the way across the middle of the park, Marcondes is that ability, cleverness to run off the back of teams.
I think we saw that with Duffy's goal, didn't we? It was his pass.
It was absolutely, it was, and there was a chance for Sainz. I think it's still in the first half, might have been second half, I can't remember. But that was Marcondes very cleverly running off the back of a defender, linking with Slimani, fed it to Sainz in those situations just on the edge of the box, left hand side that you like. So clever footballer. But today's going to be, you would think, the way Johannes mapped it out, a slightly different test. I don't think Boro are going to come in and go man for man. They're going to try and dominate the ball. And maybe that's another reason for having Marcondes in over maybe a Schwartau who's more of a runner. And Forsen, who, small sample though it is, I don't think he's going to give you that control on the ball. So, it's a pretty straightforward decision for me going with Marcondes in that three in the absence of Nunes, which is a big miss in a game like this today particularly.
Yeah, particularly, as you say, particularly today, and we will we'll come back to maybe the goalkeeping situation. The team sheets have just flashed up on the screen. I can see number 16 for Middlesbrough, Johnny Howson, on their bench today, which maybe means that we can bring you their team. Here it is. It's Dieng in goal, Dijksteel, Vandenberg, Edmondson, and Borges as the back four. Morris and Hackney, very good midfield too at this level. Those two, Ben Doak on loan from Liverpool, McGree the other side, who scored a fantastic goal here a couple of years ago. I think it might have been in the first of Middlesbrough's last two victories here. And then Finn Azaz behind Tommy Conway, who I think was linked with Norwich City in the summer. Their subs bench: Sol Bryn, Dan Barlaser, Matt Clark, Emil Latelaf, which is a big call, I think, to have him on the bench this afternoon. Delano Burzorg, Isaiah Jones, Luke Ayling, Johnny Howson, and Mika Hamilton. So, yeah, maybe a few interesting calls there. No Ayling. Obviously, Johnny Howson is coming back from an injury, so probably expected him to be on the bench. But Latelaf not in the starting 11 as well. Matt Clark, who I think he's worked his way back from an injury as well. There's some interesting calls in there from a Middlesbrough perspective. Let's speak goalkeepers then, Paddy. George Long, I think there's been a lot of focus on him, and since his inclusion, basically from Angus Gunn's injury, he gets another go today. It looks like Norwich are going to need to call upon him again for the next couple of weeks. This Middlesbrough team, certainly in terms of data, create lots of chances, shoot from lots of areas, often erratic areas. What are your feelings ahead of this one? Because I think in the first two games, there probably has been errors within his performance so far.
Yeah, I mean, what's that stat doing the rounds about the goals that he concedes, but it's slightly skewered that it includes those cup games, the Palace game, the Stevenage game even. Yeah, I mean, let's not dress it up any other way. He's not Angus Gunn. He's not as accomplished as Angus Gunn. He's not in the front rank of Championship operators, which Angus Gunn is. So there's going to be a drop there. It's just how you manage that and his own performance, but also the rest of the players around him, particularly those four players in front of him. If that is one of the standouts from how Middlesbrough like to go about it, then you try and limit the amount of shooting opportunities, don't you? Really, but the only way that's going to turn is by George Long's performances, and it's very clear that where we have a bit more clarity around Nunes and when he might be back, that doesn't sound like that's the case with Gunny. If he's had 2 courses of injections and he's still feeling pain to the degree that he can't really resume training, that could be anything at this stage. Yeah. Not just this side of the break, could be beyond the break. So if that is the scenario, it's going to be George Long again. So, I mean, some of the reaction is a little bit over the top on social media, as much as you place any store by.
And not particularly helpful.
No,
probably is fair as well.
If he or anybody close to him is consuming it, then obviously not. But best to always, with that platform, keep things in perspective. It's not representative maybe of the entire Norwich fan base. And you spoke about him on the last pod we did about maybe he does get a bit of a bad rep. I thought he was good here against Hull in terms of
second half. Yeah,
on the ball. I mean, in terms of with what he had to do and the demands on a keeper in a tore-up side with the ball at his feet.
I thought he was okay at Stoke actually. I know people maybe have picked apart the goal, but certainly some of those sweeper elements were good. The distribution was pretty good. So there were elements of that performance that was pretty good as well. And if we're going to talk about Preston and maybe the errors there, you can maybe look at where those moves started, which wasn't with George Long. They were with defensive errors from Norwich City. Which I think Torop highlighted as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reality is it feels like there's maybe a constituency who are waiting for him to maybe do that. And obviously, irrespective of the team collective, he did serve that up with the penalty. It was a rash decision to come out and commit. But once you committed, there was only one outcome there, sadly. So, yeah, you just hope that as part of a very composed and accomplished, hopefully, performance today, George Long plays his part, and then it doesn't become a debate. If it goes the other way and he's responsible for goals conceded and then the result goes against them, then we'll probably be revisiting this topic after the game. But I certainly don't think he's as much a liability as certain areas of social media would have you believe. That's for sure.
No, agreed. Jakob Sørensen, we've been waiting, I think, for his return now for a couple of game weeks. He's been back in training certainly for a little while. Just adds a slightly different midfield option. I think if you were to look at that midfield that Norwich have, it's maybe that lack of depth or support maybe for Kenny McLean. He feels like someone that maybe could lighten the load on him a little bit. I can actually see Marcelino Nunez down there, and he seems to be walking relatively freely. But hey, what does that tell us about anything? But yeah, good to see Jakob Sorensen back in the matchday squad. But I think as we spoke about maybe before Preston, the aim for him is to keep himself there and to keep himself fit.
And that's the asterisk against his Norwich career, isn't it? Let's be honest. Unless somebody wants to tell me different, for me, the high point of his career was as an emergency left back in that second Championship title winning season. That is not how or why he was recruited to come in and be an emergency left back, or the most indelible impression he's left on Norwich fans in his. I mean, how long's he been here now? I mean, 20 would have been that summer, wouldn't it? He came in, did he? Before
2020, wasn't it? 2021, yeah.
So we're now 4 years down the line, and you still wouldn't say he's a front line. I said it. I was surprised they extended his contract last summer. I thought just because of the injury issues, might be time for him to go his way and Norwich to go their way. But having got a new deal, and this one I think contains an option as well, doesn't it? He needs to be playing.
Same terms, I think, than what we were led to believe as last year.
But prior to the Stoke game, Ben Gibson was very candid. He did some media of the Stoke end and talked about when you're in the final sort of few months of a contract, particularly when you get to a certain age, you need to be playing games. And if you don't, then it's maybe a 1 year deal somewhere as opposed to a 3 year deal. So he will know. I think he's had some good news in terms of his partner, and I think he's had a new arrival in the last few days. So congratulations to him. But there's no doubt he needs to stay fit and he needs to play games, because if not, I just don't see why next summer they would extend his contract. So he will know probably brutally he's playing for either a future here or a future somewhere else.
Yeah, agreed. Let's turn our attention to this game then, Paddy, because Torp spoke about Middlesbrough. I think this is certainly a game that on paper is mouthwatering, isn't it? The quality of the two teams, the way that they're playing, the type of football that they like to play, the fact that Middlesbrough over the last few years, certainly since Michael Carrick has been in charge, have had Norwich City's number, albeit hasn't faced Giannis Torp's version of Norwich City yet. There's a lot to unpack here, but equally, given the week that they've had, 2 away draws, which, I think you could maybe argue either way whether they were good results or not. If you win here today and suddenly you're looking at 5 points out of 9, that suddenly looks a completely different week to maybe it does if Norwich City don't win this game today.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. And I think I had a look at the table before, after yesterday's results. I think they go 5th today, which is neither here nor there in the grand scheme of things at this stage, but still a nice sense that, they're really up and amongst the front rank. Maybe a little gap to Sunderland at the minute. They are the standout team. But beyond that, they'd be really in that pack of clubs. And also, I think to get the better of a Middlesbrough side who feel like a lot of the metrics, Glenn talked about it, didn't he, to you after the fans forum, they feel like they're one of the teams who will be up there challenging. Garrick's had time to build something now. They missed out in the playoffs 2 seasons ago. They were 8th last season. So they're a club who've decided to go with a bit of consistency in terms of their coaching outlook and player recruitment. And I think to get the better of them today would be a very good result. And more confirmation, having played Leeds here, having played Sheffield United here, if you get a positive one against Middlesbrough, then I think it's safe to say Norwich are firmly in the conversation. So, for me, I'm finding it hard to sort of, and I don't wish to draw a direct parallel, but it was the 18-19 season really started here. Pookie 1-0
against Middlesbrough.
It was just after the September international break. I think that was the first time Rhodes had come out the side and Pookie had started down the middle. Scrappy game. Norwich got the better of it, and then we know how that season turned out. By no manner of means, I'm saying a result today would end in the same result, but the outcome. But you never know. It could be just one of those catalysts. Because to emerge from this particular week, 2 gruelling away games, and then Middlesbrough home with 5 points from 9, unbeaten. Yeah, I think that does tell you a lot about this group and what their potential ceiling is.
And that home record as well. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? 23 games in all competitions, unbeaten. That, of course, includes the cup game, the playoff semi-final here against Leeds as well. I mean, it's as I said in the intro, the record is in all comps. They did 31 in the 80s, but 25, which was in the late 50s in terms of all comps, unbeaten at home. That was I think about 11 months, but it's a remarkable record what they've built here, and spanning head coaches and squads as well, largely. And it's going to end at some point, and everyone is acutely aware of that. But just to get to that milestone, I think for any team at any stage in any competition, it's incredible. I read in midweek that it's basically a record that's twice as long as any other team in the EFL. It's remarkable what they've done here over the last year.
So where are we now? 21,
23
in the league.
No, in
All
all
comps.
comps. Yeah.
That's effectively, give or take, that's a full season's productivity, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You play a 46-game season, 23 of them at Carrow Road. So, calendar year season length is very impressive, and it doesn't feel all that long ago that they for love nor money they couldn't get a result here. They couldn't score a goal here. At back end of Wagner's first sort of 6 months in charge, Pookie's farewell season, as I recall, to go from that and all the sort of negativity and disgruntlement and season ticket holders anecdotally telling you, look, I've got a ticket, I can't be bothered to go today, I'm staying away. It's the first time ever I've felt like that about my team. And now, there's a lot of people already in this ground at this point, and there was a lot of people milling about. I thought that might be the weather partly, but people want to get here, they want to feel it, they want to be part of it because they know on the evidence of this season so far they're going to be entertained by this group of players and this head coach. So it's great, and long may it continue. But inevitably, law of averages, they will lose a game. Let's hope it's not today, but as long as it's overwhelmingly positive results at home, then that is, as we've always seen, a cliche, but it's true. You do anything in this league, you go for anything promotion-wise, you've got to be really strong at home. So, that is one of the key pillars, and they've certainly got that at the moment. They just need to carry it on in the same vein. And, Hull, Watford, we've been royally entertained here so far, and maybe that leads us on to the prediction, because I don't think it'll be one of them today. I think it will be, like Torok said, I think it'll be a very edgy, tight affair. Odd goal here or there for me. But I think Norwich to just square it off, maybe 2-1.
Nice, yeah. I think this is going to be a very, very tight game, if I'm honest, against two very, very good teams. And I think it will be difficult to separate them. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 score draw. I think goals, entertainment, but maybe neither team come in and winning. And just to come back, before we finish, just to come to Alex's point, which I was going to mention, and then I think got sidetracked by Middlesbrough team. But and this is a fair point about freshening up the squad. It's the third game in a week. Norwich play with intensity and high intensity. Is it a little bit of a surprise for you that there hasn't been more changes across this week? I mean, if you're Torap, I guess he's tried to use them from the bench, hasn't he, rather than from the start?
And that might be his answer to that question. But I mean, he intimated he'd make one or two changes on Friday. Sorry. I mean, they've obviously
Napper down there with pitch side.
Yeah, I mean, they've obviously trained. Subsequently, Saturday, I thought in that answer he also talked about, look, I'll lean heavily on the sports science, the metrics, the data, the physical output performance. So if that's what he feels, then that 11 unchanged would tell you that is the case. Then maybe that's where the freshening up comes, is from the bench. And he's not slow in making a change in the second half of games. He's quite happy to go through his roster. So maybe that's where his head's at in terms of the antidote to why not change it up in terms of starting lineup. Maybe he feels this is his best 11, set the game up, and then you can alter it as you see fit from the bench. And in players like Gordon and Schwartau particularly, you do have some attacking options if required.
Yeah, it definitely looks a little bit stronger, doesn't it? Maybe beyond the number 9 option than perhaps it has done in the last few weeks. That's a nice place to leave it. Let's see if Norwich City can go another game without with avoiding defeat at Carrow Road and extend 23 games to 24. Thank you very much for watching. Pinken.com, of course, the place to go throughout the afternoon for all your analysis, reaction, live updates as they happen for this game against Middlesbrough. Thank you for watching. See you soon.